You're listening to the Faeries and Folklore podcast by Ronel. I'm dark fantasy author Ronel Janse van Vuuren. With nearly a decade of digging around in dusty folklore books, researching creatures of imagination that ignited my curiosity, I'm here to share the folklore in a nutshell and how I reimagined it for my writing in An Origin of the Fae. This is the Faeries and Folklore podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Ronel Janse van Vuuren. You can just call me Ronel. In today's episode, we're continuing our exploration of the Faery. This episode is brought to you by my book, Once, Tales, Myths and Legends of Faery, available in ebook, paperback and audiobook. Go to ronelthemythmaker.com/my-books for more. We are continuing our exploration of water fae. Today's fairy, Telkhines. Folklore in a nutshell by Ronel. In Greek mythology, Telkhines are older than the pantheon, as they were the metalsmiths who made the scythe with which Cronus castrated his father Uranus. They raised Poseidon and made his trident, and they also apparently had a thing for Aphrodite, as they kidnapped her at some point. Most Greek writers thought that the Telkhines were siblings of the Faeries, born of the blood of Uranus' genitals when Cronus castrated him, but this doesn't line up with them having created Cronus' scythe before that. Other ancient writers maintain that the Telkhines were the children of the Titans Thalassa and Pontus. The Telkhines originally lived on the island of Rhodes and used their brand of sorcery to imbue the artifacts they made with magic, which is why Poseidon's trident and Cronus' scythe are so powerful and lasted so long. Before the catastrophe period, more commonly known as the Great Flood, the Telkhines were the original gods of Rhodes, linked to Atlantis and the sea. They even had Capera, daughter of Oceanus, to aid them in the upbringing of Poseidon, once Rhea entrusted her baby to them. There is even some speculation that Capera was a Telkhine herself, linking these creatures to Oceanus. Besides being fantastic metalsmiths, artists and magicians, they could also affect the weather, bring about snow, rain, hailstorms and earthquakes at will. And apparently they also made a mixture of Stygian water and sulfur, which killed animals and plants. Unlike other jack-of-all-trades, they were masters of all. They are known to have been able to shapeshift into any form. In some texts, it is said that their very appearance, and especially their eyes, were destructive. Their appearance varies from account to account, but most believe that after they started to use their powers for evil, they were transformed by Poseidon into dog-headed creatures with flippers and fins as appendages, forced to live in the depths of the seas where they couldn't do much harm, or Tartarus with the same effect. It is also said that this happened after they kidnapped Aphrodite. In other accounts, Zeus killed them with thunderbolts, or Poseidon with his trident, or Apollo who turned into a wolf when they started to use their powers for evil, or these sea-dwelling creatures were killed by the Great Flood. Though they are rarely mentioned in surviving ancient texts, their destructive powers always far outweigh their technical capabilities, and they are almost always portrayed as malevolent. And now, for my interpretation of the Fae, in An Origin of the Fae, Telkhines. Telkhines are ocean-dwelling creatures with the heads of dogs and bodies similar to other ocean-dwelling creatures. Some have the bodies of crustaceans, some are fish, some are seals. They always have human-like arms to perform their metalsmithing and other artistic works. Though they were able to shapeshift at some point, they were cursed by sea witches to remain in one form so all could recognize them. They have strong magic, but stuck in the ocean, they are only a threat to other water fae, ocean dwellers, and humans unfortunate enough to encounter them on a deep sea dive. As a little bonus, let's look at the translation of Telkhines to Afrikaans. Hondkopseesmid. This is of my own making. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Faeries and Folklore podcast and that you've learned something new about faery. Remember that you can get a transcript of this episode in the description. If you're new to the podcast, why not go and grab your free copy of Unseen, the second book in the fairy tale series, on my website, ronelthemythmaker.com. Loads of folklore, magic, and danger await. Take care.